Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today, I'm going to show you how to move beyond seventh chords into more adventurous harmonic territory. And if you're a fan of our work at the London Contemporary School of Piano, do head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, to get your free resources pack, which accompanies these videos, including this one, which has a worksheet on how to move beyond seventh chords. So this is assuming you do know at least most of your seventh chords: major 7, dominant 7, minor 7. I've often referred to those chords as the holy trinity of jazz chords because they are the most disproportionately used chords in jazz harmony. There are other seventh chords, of course, but these three sort of form a trilogy of chords. And once you know those chords quite well, then we can think about moving beyond them to create more adventurous harmonies such as ninths and 11ths, and then learning how to apply them. And it's the application that really is the most important thing. You can sit down and play a fancy dissonant chord in isolation and go, oh, that's a really nice chord, isn't it? But it's actually how we connect them to other chords that really makes the most difference here. So that's where our focus will be on in this lesson. So let's start with how we build a ninth chord. So if we have a major 7 chord, to turn it into a major ninth chord, we just add that additional note, the ninth, above the root note. You can see that. You got C major 7, C major ninth. And the same applies to the dominant 7. You've got a C7, and this then turns into a C ninth. So a C9 comes from the dominant 7 family. C major 9, C9. And then of course we have C minor 9. Now what would that be? This is your C minor 7. Your C minor 9 would therefore be this. So that's why we talk about the holy trinity of jazz chords, major, minor, and dominant, because they even form the ninth chords that come from that. You've got major 7, major 9, dominant 7, dominant 9, minor 7, minor 9. So the ninth note is totally passive. It doesn't change. It's only the function of what it's built on that changes. So it's still built on the same branches of the tree as major 7, dominant 7, and minor 7. And that's why it's really important you know those three chord groups: major 7, dominant 7, minor 7. And if you need help on those three chord groups, in our resources kit on our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, we have the Holy Trinity of Jazz Chords worksheet. You need that worksheet so you get those chords really into your muscle memory really well. See? D major 7, dominant 7, minor 7. Now I add the ninth to all three of them. Just adds that extra bit of dissonance, doesn't it? D major 9, D9, D minor 9. Let's do this in a couple of other keys. E flat major 7 is this, so E flat major 9 will be this. E flat major 9, E flat 9, E flat minor 9. So that's how you build those chords up. Now the next thing that really matters, actually this is more important, and if you found that really confusing, well, two things. Firstly, don't worry about it, just go back and learn those sevenths as well as you can. But the second thing, even building them in isolation like that has limited returns anyway. You actually need to know how to use ninth chords in actual context, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to put it into actual context. And so here's a lovely progression. We're going to play D minor 7. We're going to play a D minor 7, to a G9. And this is a really nice progression. Now, the way I'm going to play the D minor 7 is I'm going to play it with this inversion. I've got my thumb on the 7th. Now, just remember that, thumb on 7th, because when I have my thumb on the 7th, it's going to lead me very elegantly to the G9 chord. Let me show you. D minor 7. Now I'm going to play a G9. Now, how am I going to play this G9? All I'm going to do is drop the thumb down a half note. I've got my G in the bass. I've got B, which is the 3rd note, 5th note, 7th note, 9th note. This is a G9. D minor 7, G9. D minor 7, G9. So it's a really elegant way to slip into that 9th chord. And that's generally how we play 9th chords. We want to play them in a way that is conveniently arranged, because if we play it just as root chords, like this, it just is too heavy and over-engineered. We actually want it to be smooth. And teaching the muscle memory these little tricks like drop the thumb on the 7th of the D minor, and drop the thumb, keep the other notes the same, we get that lovely, juicy G9 chord without huge amounts of effort. And it just sounds more effortless. And that explains why you see jazz musicians at the jazz club at 1 a.m. looking like they're in a half coma and playing all of these beautiful, lush chords, because the muscle memory's doing the work. They're not thinking about theory when they're playing. Trust me. It's all in the muscle memory. Yes, the theory is important, but it has to convert to muscle memory. So let's do this in C minor now. C minor 7, and I've got my thumb on the 7 here. F9. C minor 7. F9. Back to the D minor 7, G9, D minor 7, G9, back to the C minor 7, F9. Let's try this in a few other keys. What about F minor 7? See if you can work this out. I don't want to spoon feed it to you. See if you can work this out. How would I play that F minor 7? And what chord would I go to after the F minor 7 to get that really smooth semitone movement of the 9th chord with my thumb? So my thumb's on the 7th for the F minor 7. So I've got my F minor here. I'm going to put my thumb on the 7th now, my index finger on the root note. There we have it. There's our F minor 7. Takes a while to get used to this, but when you get used to having your thumb on the 7th, this opens up the opportunity to move beyond the 7th chords and use the 9ths. Okay, so how do I get to the B flat 9? Again, I just slip my thumb down the semitone. I keep all the other notes the same. And you can try that as many keys as you can. What about G minor 7 to C9? Okay, now we're going to go up a notch and add more complexity to the harmony. It doesn't necessarily make it better, but we're just moving beyond just 7th chords. We're adding more to it. And in certain situations, this sounds so beautiful. So we're going to get the 9th chord, or should I say the 7th chord that we started on. Let's say the C minor 7 here with my thumb on the 7th, same formula. But I'm going to now turn this into a 9th chord. And I'll turn this into a 9th chord by getting that C I've already got it in the bass, so I'm going to take the C out of the right hand and turn it into a D. And now I have that beautiful juicy chord, the C minor 9. Oh, isn't that a lovely chord? You know, could you just play that all day? That's why you don't have to rush your way through all 12 keys with these types of chords. These aren't scales. You might be able to play scales in a whole bunch of keys, but chords like this take a while to settle. So just sit on one of them and enjoy it. Squeeze all of the juice out of the chord. There's a lot of good nutrition in there that's good for you, so you don't have to feel like you've got to rush it all and give yourself chord indigestion. Just stay on that one chord. So how am I formulating this C minor 9? There's my first note, 7th note, 9th note. There's the minor 3rd to make the C minor, and the 5th note. So what am I going to do next? Well, instead of going to an F9, I'm going to drop the thumb again down a semitone, and I get an F13. Isn't that cool? There's my first note, 3rd note, 6th note, 7th note, 9th note, and that makes her F13. But don't worry about the theory, just drop the thumb. What about in D minor? There's our D minor 7 with our thumb on the 7th, and now we get that root note, turn it into an E, and I've got the D minor 9. Let's go. D minor 7. Drop the thumb down a semitone, G13. Back to C minor 9, F13. Now if you head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, we have these chords beautifully annotated into a lead sheet in our resources kit. So you can start practicing them and working them out on the piano. But we can go even beyond 9th chords, and I'll give you and 13th chords. We can also have 11th chords. I'm going to show you a beautiful 11th chord which works beautifully on the minor 7. And this is where you get so many notes that you can actually think there's a chord inside the chord. That could be a useful way of breaking it down. Like for instance, if I play an A minor 7 and then I put a D underneath it, as well as an F, I now have a D minor 11. There's the 7th, there's the 9th, and there's the 11th. But there's an A minor 7 sitting in that as well. So you might want to write it out as a slash chord and write A minor 7 with a D in the bass. Depends which way you want to look at it. So is that a D minor? Is that a D minor 11, or is that an A minor 7 over a D? Whatever helps you, but it helps you arrive at that destination. So, what's this chord then? Well, this is a C minor 7 with an F in the bass, or do I want to think of it as an F minor 11? And these are actually the chords to a beautiful piece of music by Herbie Hancock called Maiden Voyage. And we have some videos on our YouTube channel where we go through this piece. Just those two chords, so beautiful to play. So already a couple of really useful tools and resources to move your chords beyond the 7th chord. I'm going to show you one more trick, and this is where we bring in some flattened 5s or sharpened 4ths. It depends which way you look at it. But the flattened 5th or the sharpened 4th can add a lot of dimension to the chord, give it a totally different sound. And again, if we go back to those 3 main chord groups, major 7, dominant 7, and minor 7, we can really play around with this. So for instance, if we get major 7, now if we get this G and turn it into an F sharp, you get that sharpened 4th note. It gives the chord a totally different sound and feeling to it. Technically, the term of this chord is the sharpened 11th. But it's the 5th note that we're altering to get that effect. And it just adds an extra layer of dreaminess to the already dreamy major 7 chord. That's already a very dreamy chord, but we've just made it dreamier. The Simpsons. There's a reference for those of you old enough. So, you can do this in other keys as well. So let's go to the other chord group. We've got the dominant 7. And you can flatten the 5th on the dominant 7 and you get a very crunchy, dissonant sound. And this is often used in tritone substitution. This is a tritone substitution. It's a dominant 7 with a flattened 5th. And it can resolve very nicely to a major 7 chord that's a semitone lower. In this case, B major 7, but I can do this in other keys. What about this one? I get a D flat 7, I flatten the 5th of that, and then I resolve it to C major 7. Or I could be really fancy here, I could resolve it to C major 7 with the sharpened note, the 4th. Being sharpened. So now I've got 2 really lovely alterations to those 2 chords. So I started with this, D flat 7, C major 7. Now I move beyond the 7 to get this. And then the third other chord here, minor 7. And when we flatten the 5th of that, we get what we call a half diminished chord. Isn't that such a beautiful chord? It's one of my favorite chords of all time, this chord. I just love playing arpeggios on half diminished chords. Don't you feel the breeze blowing in your hair when you hear that chord on a balmy summer's evening? Oh, and getting distracted by the sound of that chord. Beautiful chord. And yeah, it can be used in many different ways. It can be used on a minor 2-5-1. So if I just drop the top note down a semitone, I get an F7 with a flattened 9th in it. There's the F, 3rd, 5th, 7, flattened 9th, 3rd above. Stay with me here. A bit of chord theory today, because we're moving beyond the 7th. We can do this in other keys as well. I'll just stay on this key for a little while so you can really absorb it. Now, if you're finding this really difficult, this is really difficult. I mean, it's taken me a lifetime to learn this stuff. And I find with so many piano students, they just try and fly a little bit too early. And that's okay. I mean, I understand it. We're all impatient. We all want instant gratification, right? It's totally human to admit that. But I find a lot of you, and I can see it in the questions I often get, is that you've got some foundations and some tools and techniques, but you don't have the continuity in your playing to develop those techniques. There's no synergy because there's no practice plan, and that's totally understandable. And that's because you need to organize your playing into these different pillars that really matter. And the 21st century piano student, the 21st century piano student wants to play a bit of everything. That's the thing. They want to play a bit of jazz, they want to play a bit of pop, they want to play a bit of blues, they like to play a bit of classical, bit of soundtrack. They've got a bit of a shopping list going on. And the best way to organize all of that on the keyboard is to really think of a pillared approach. The first pillar being chords, chords, chords. Really, really important that you understand your chords. The second pillar being rhythm and groove to bring your chords to life. Not just fancy chord extensions, but you've got to have a groove to go with them. And we have our Groove Mastery program, by the way, which you can download just for a mere £20 or $25 you can get that program to bring your chords to life. Then there's improvisation, melody, and then arrangement and integration of all the parts. And we have structured that into a complete musician program to give you those real foundations and real application and real structure that you need to give your playing a proper blueprint for improvement, not just a bunch of random YouTube videos. And I'm sorry, I've made a lot of random YouTube videos over the years, but an algorithm is not going to teach you how to play music. It doesn't matter how many great videos there are out there. Lots of information's not going to help you. You probably don't need lots of information. I could show you another infinite variation of these beautiful chords, and is that really going to help? It's not going to stick after a while. And what we do in the Complete Musician program, we have a lifelong resource and study which you log into through the student portal, and you see these 8 modules, and you work on these 8 modules in a systematic way, and you structure them by those 4 pillars. You're not just moving in a linear way like you're back at school again, year 1, year 2, grade 3, grade 4. You're building those pillars and you're working between them, a bit like how you would construct a building. You can't just build up one pillar really high and forget about the others. You just do a little bit of work. You chip away at all of those 4 pillars. You actually have a real structure and a blueprint to build something in your playing. And if that's the sort of thing you'd like to do with your playing and your progress, you should consider the Complete Musician program. Here's the enrollment page. It really doesn't matter what time of the year you join the course. You could join the course whenever you want. It really doesn't matter because we run the course in different cohorts throughout the year. But when you're in the student portal, you're part of a community with other like-minded students. You can share your playing with other people, and other people will share their playing with you. And you have access to our team, including myself, where your questions will be answered. And we're constantly adding extra stuff to the portal, upgrading the course. It's on a really exciting, dynamic platform where you can log in every day, see how you're progressing, check out those videos, and get away from the rat race of endless information, which really doesn't serve so many of your playing and so many of your goals with piano. And it's a joyful community to be part of, because here at the London Contemporary School of Piano, we have a fantastic global community of like-minded adult students who just want to get forward with their piano playing. It doesn't matter what level they're at. You could be doing this for a couple of years, and oh gosh, if I was a beginner and someone was telling me this stuff when I started, it would have saved me years of my time. I only wish I was taught this stuff when I was in earlier parts of my journey. And those of you who have been playing for a while, but everything just feels a little bit stagnant and you need something new and fresh, this course is also a great fit. The course really fits a whole wide range of students because we have many exercises within the course that are targeted at different levels of playing. So there's something in there for a whole wide range of students. So you can just visit our website, or you can visit the enrollment page to sign up for the program. It's incredible value given the fact it is a lifelong resource. And at the current price it's quoted at, it's not going to be able to stay sustainably at this current price. And you get access. It's not a subscription. You get lifelong access to it. You're not paying a monthly fee. So you can secure a great rate for the program now, because as our platform is growing with more students around the world, we're going to obviously have more hosting fees, and at the moment you're really getting it at a steal, and we've managed to keep the price of the program pretty much the same for the last 5 years, which is something we're really proud of, because we really care about helping our students around the world. So there's something else that might help you if you're finding the cognition between these chords is moving a bit slowly. You can work with that. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have fun with those chords. And moving beyond those seventh chords. See you soon.